Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful program here for Up Convergence Week, getting ready for Peace Weekend. I have a couple of wonderful guests here today, Mayalmith and Minket from India. I will let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk a bit about the water issues in their part of the world and what we can do about it as we get through our four elements room. There we go. So let me turn it over to Mayalmith. Do you want to go first? Just introduce yourself,
Okay,
where you're from.
okay. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mayalmith Lepcha. I'm working to protect my homeland Zongo for as long as I can remember. And Zongo in North Sikkim is the indigenous land of the Lepchas people. I work with an organization called Effective Citizen of Tista for last 14 years. And this organization is fighting against onslaught of large run-of-the-river dams in Zongu and other parts of Sikkim, that is in India. In addition, I'm passionate about keeping my lecture culture and tradition alive and passing them on to the future generation of young lecturers. I'm also the president of Sikkim Indigenous Lecture Tribal Association. I regularly organize events and programs for young lecturers, especially encourages young women, lecture women, to take more active role in leadership wherever they may be. I run a small homestay in Zongu along with my family.
Thank you. That's a great. Minket, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. A very good evening from Nepal side. Right now I'm in Nepal, but I'm from India. My name is Minket Lepcha, and I come from Darjeeling, which is in West Bengal, and I'm also from an indigenous tribe, Lepchas. We call ourselves Mutanchi Rongkup or Rongmit, basically the children of the god. And I've had various experiences so far, but I was really moved back in 2007 with this ACT movement when Mayalmith was a very young girl, just out of, I think, school, and they had come to Delhi, and I met them, and it was my first introduction to my own community and my tribe. And from there onwards, I quit my job and I started documenting oral stories and folklore from all the communities, not just lectures. And what I found very interesting about the lecture community folklore was it was very well it had a lot to do with nature and environment. And so in 2015 I got to make a film on River Tista called The Voices of Tista, which is up in the four element room also. And that got me a Young Green Filmmaker Award. But I was not very happy with just the award because I felt like many people were not connected with the river at all. And now I am currently as a storyteller. I connect with children, talking about the folklore of Eastern Himalaya and how we are interconnected. So right now, I'm supporting the movement of ACT, where they are fighting for the stage 4 dam, which the government has proposed recently, and trying our best to do whatever we can to spread the word, to bring unity in River Tista. Thank you.
Thank you both. It always interests me, fascinates me really, as we work on these things around the globe, how similar the issues actually are. It may be for you, it's a dam. For someone else, it may be a river. But how often water is involved, as some of the powers that be just continue to try to control our water sources. Control the water and you control everything and everybody, because without water, we don't last very long. So, what kind of environmental issues do you see, Malamit, around you there?
In in our state is very small, and we have all this line. We have almost more than 30 mega dams, which has been planned by the government of India and the state government, the Sikkim state government. But the problem that we see right now is we have more than 30 mega dams in Sikkim and 56 pharmaceutical companies in Sikkim, and which is built along the river. And the most threatening part right now for us, the indigenous people, because in the Zongo is a reserve area. In the reserve area that it has been protected under the Constitution of India. In this region, it has been is very protected. To go inside this Zongo reserve, one has to get a special permit from the authority. And in here, like even Lepcha from other parts of Zongo, they cannot go and settle. They cannot go and buy land. Even to go and visit Zongo, they need to have a special permit. With all this, the law which has been protected this area. Now we have two major dams in this area. One is Panang project on 300 megawatts that is to cover the entire Upper Zongo, and one is stage 4, that is NS, which has been taken over by NSPC. It's 520 megawatts. It's going to wipe out the entire Lower Zongo. So, and here we have a indigenous population about 12 to 15,000. And we feel that after coming of these dams is going to be a threat to our communities, and we are going to be marginalized. One of the biggest question for us is like Kanchenjunga is there, and Kanchenjunga National Park, which is a declared World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 2016. In this region, the coming of mega dams is going to be, it's a very threat to our communities, because without this dams coming up, the monsoon river, the monsoon rainfall, every year we are witnessing the flash floods, landslides, and uh, we feel that there's other parts of where the Lepcha community, the indigenous communities have settled. Above there we have a 300 mega, the stage 3 is a 300 megawatts, where and just below the Zongo there's a stage 5. It's like it's a thread now, because after 1 kilometer there's a mega dam, and there's a last stretch, there's a stage 4. The last stretch of water is like only left in the whole of in Sikkim. Even if this stage 4 comes up, our whole Tista river, the main river of Sikkim, is going to be disappeared from the surface. And one of the biggest threat for the Lepcha community right now is the river Rungyong, one of the tributaries of river Testa, is one of the sacred river for the Lepcha community, because we believe that after we die, our soul travels back to Pumzu Lang, which is at the foothills of Mount Kanchenjunga. So in this, that tributaries, the river Rongyong, which is tributary, that in that river, the stage Panang project, 320 megawatts is coming up. That river is going to divert inside the tunnel, and that is how it's going to. It's we feel that it's threat to our communities, it's threat to our culture, it's threat to our religious, and threat to our identity. And the biggest threat is that the expert who has done the study on this river and this dam, they have given the report saying that coming of mega dams in this area, in this river, is not fragile, because the area is very, very eco-sensitive, and it is very fragile. So we feel so threat that in spite of expert giving such a report to the central government and the project developers and the state government, I don't know why they are pushing forward for this project. And we in Zongo, we have a organization called Effective Citizen of Tista. It's the only organization in Sikkim that we are fighting against the dams, not only in Zongo, to the other parts of Sikkim. And we are trying to tell other people that whatever the movement that we are doing is not just about Lepchas, is not just about Zongo. It's about entire Sikkim, because the river that flows is from Sikkim to West Bengal to Bangladesh. We are talking on in every basis, like on be it environment, be it socially, be it economically. So we are raising this voice for last 14 years. And in 2006, 7, what we did was we came out from the Zongu area then we came to the capital in Gantok, and for 915 days we sat for relay hunger strike to protest against the government on this plan of coming of mega dams. With that, we could scrap 4 hydro dams, which was uh, in that period. Now the major 2 dams left for Zongo is this 2 project, which is going to be, it's a it's a it's a very very huge project. And if we see like the ones like the activists like us when we are fighting, I have not seen a single lecture people have benefited out of this project. Rather, our people once they were landlord, once they were quite confident, they were so rich, so happy. But after coming of these dams, of the our lectures are, they have lost their land, they have wasted their money, they are becoming the refugee in their own homeland, and this is the biggest concern for the coming generation. The only lecture the identity is our land. So we are fighting, till like we are trying to spread our message to everybody, irrespective of any organizations, be it in national level, be it international level, to intervene, because we like they say that the United Nations organization looks after these indigenous people, but we are helpless right now, that because it's like uh, we we have, I feel that like in whole of Sikkim, that population, if you see the population, we are hardly 50,000. It's only 42,000, I believe, the census, and we are going to be marginalized in our own homeland, because the and I've seen that. I've been talking to my people that, and they have been exploited so much by the government, that they just tell them that because government telling our people that you're going to be rich, you're going to be, you're going to be like lakpati and crorepati and all. But in reality, they haven't study after coming of other dams what has happened to these indigenous people. They are not, after they make so much promises in the beginning. Once they have land has been going like this taken, they don't looked after, because recently we are having a massive landslide, like a flash flood in Zongo only. There's a place called Pasingdang. In June, in the month of June, they had a massive flash flood. The whole of that area has to be evacuated. It has been declared by the state government to evacuate the whole village of 60 households. They have to be shifted from Zongo to some other places. You know, with this happening, I don't know why the government is, pushing the project in this area. So that is the biggest question for us right now.
Thank you. Boy, that really lays
Hello?
it out.
Mm.
That lays out the Minket. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think, but there are some questions that what do they want the water for? I think that's a very interesting question. Mayalmith, you tell, and then I can add why do they want the water for the dams? Why are they being built? I think you can start, and then I will
Okay.
add to that. Yeah.
Mm. The government is like telling that this dams is for the revenue for the state, for the government of India. But if you see the revenue, we hardly get anything from them. Like we don't have good hospital, we don't have good schools, we don't till now. If you see the example of stage 3 and stage 5, none of the indigenous people or none of the local people have benefited out of this hydro project. In fact, people have been displaced, the houses has been cracked now and then, and people are going to the project developers saying they go and with all the grievances, the project developer says it's not a thing. You go to state government. These people go to state government and they place their grievances, but none of our local people's voices had been heard by both the authorities. That is like that is where our people are really feeling helpless. But I feel quite scared that this youngsters which is coming up, like they are like they know what is happening, and they have seen this both from both the project, the stage 3 and stage 5. So with the problem they are facing by these both the projects, so people have now become like they are quite aware what is happening, who is benefiting, who is not benefiting. So looking all this, analyzing everything, so they, they don't they are protesting since so many years.
All right. So I'll just add to that. I really like the question of what do they want the water for? Because it is known as the white gold, water, especially the green energy, the lobby that they have at a higher scale. So since there's no carbon emission and because the water is being converted into electricity, and there is a whole big economy that goes with regards to the business of electricity, which is by water. And the water usually once the electricity is discharged, they actually have a central, which is is a central government who takes control of how this particular exchange of electricity and the economy, it is linked with the stock exchange market. So when this electricity which comes from the village like Zongu goes and then gets controlled by the central government and gets into the stock exchange market, you can imagine how economy is playing the role. And then also the corporatization comes in eventually. And this is a very scary part because most of the dams that's being made there have been generating electricity, but none of the villages actually get to know what is the rate of exchange, the income that's coming, because it's in crores, like billions of dollars, like sometimes in seconds and minutes this the money is being minted. And the second part is usually the central government says that, okay, you're going to get at least 12% of the revenue, which is must have been revised now because I did this research way back 4 years ago. And 12% of the revenue will be going to state government, but it will come in a form of how the central government disseminates this in terms of the welfare of the community or the villages or road building. But there are so many layers. By the time the central government sends the money to the state government and the state government sends the money to the villages, there are so many layers that by the time the villages might be, if they get something also, it's very, very less. So this is it's a very vicious circle where you and they also say the work will be done only on water, not on the land. That is how they enter this whole business of into getting into dam making. And they say there will be no land touched. But when you see, because when you speak to the villager, when you get into this black and white statement, like there no land will be touched, obviously they will say, okay, it's just on water, our lands are not going to get affected. But when it actually happens, they see the devastation is happening, because right now in stage 5, the whole bridge has gone down. So the landslides are occurring almost every day whenever there is a rainfall. So this kind of the water economy is something which has not been talked about, not just in Sikkim but also in West Bengal. And the ownership of this water revenue, which is coming at the cost of the communities and villagers, but never getting the ownership. I think this is a very vicious circle right now. So that is one thing which I feel with regards to what do they want the water for. And because that is the best way and the fastest way of getting the government getting a revenue for the government, for sure. And because so much of lobby has been going on about the green energy, so this is the right now to go point, like this is where they would want to invest. Second part of it is also with water. When you talk about water, it has become like something which you don't feel connected to, because I come from West Bengal, which is a different state. And it has become like a dumping ground. If you talk about West Bengal, most of them are throwing trash in the river. So there's no connection as such. So because of that, our cause, which is the one river, which is one river which connects Sikkim with West Bengal and with Bangladesh, is a transboundary river, but our problems have been divided in three different ways, So we are never united that ways. So I think even though the problem is same, so I think that these are a few things which I wanted to add, Jim.
Thank you. That's awesome. I just wanted to say the questions are coming from Frank and other people up on Pine Ridge. They're listening into this via
Right.
via their phone.
Yes.
So we welcome them. They're now up to Frank plus 11 people. And
Thank you so much, Frank and Florence. I think grandmother Florence, right? Yes.
Yes, grandmother Florence, I see, is there. And Frank said he's made the coffee. If you were here, he would pour us a cup. So thank you, folks.
That the Pine Ridge is like Zongo, Mayalmith. I think there are no connection out there also. So they are also, I think, going through the same similar problems, right, Jim?
Yes,
If I understand. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think anywhere. Um, and there's another question coming. I'll give you in a minute.
All
I
right.
think that's a problem in a lot of places. And Mohammed has spelled it out so beautifully. Only 50,000 people. Well,
All right.
there's part of the problem. Um, at Standing Rock, for example, in Standing Rock Reservation, when that whole issue started, those pipelines were supposed to go next to a town, which was a town of primarily white middle class people, and they didn't want it. So it got pushed. It got pushed. The whole line got pushed over. So it would go under the river where it could actually pollute, and then right through the reservation with asking no permission at all. So that's a very similar scenario. And I saw that Frank had said before they understand because I've been trying to eliminate a lot of Native American tribes here since Europeans have gotten here. It's a sad part of our history, and it's still happening.
Mm.
Um, no, I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, um, I see Grandmother Florence. We thank you, Grandmother, for your wonderful questions. So, Grandmother asks, are they trying to eliminate your people?
Yes, obviously, because coming off this mega dams, it's they are going to really they are going to, I don't know that there's we have a big like the young minds, like it is protected in the paper. There's a law, but other side, like recently, like we've been in 2006 we've been declared as a the particular vulnerable tribe in the state of Sikkim, and Zongo is protected in under the constitution of law. And recently they have given one, the Zongo has declared as the most the indigenous habitat area, where everything will be this will be protected. It's in only in the notification, it is only in the law. But when you see, when this project comes up, the practical, our people will be they have to be they'll be displaced before coming of dams only, because of the rain, like landslide. People have been evacuating from that place. But I feel that uh, there's a big conspiracy in the government, that one side they are telling that we are going to be protected, but other side they are saying that they're pushing so much high, the so big mega dams. That's a big questions. And we as like youngsters, like we are the first generation from Zongu got little bit education. Just we can read and write, and we can analyze what is happening, what these governments are doing. And with that, looking and understanding that they said it is very wrong. It's not good to our community. That's why this ACT organization, most of them are young, educated, the first generation, like my age. They are the first generation who is opposing government on this project.
Yeah, and I wanted to just add, it's not just like it's a very diplomatic question. Like, nobody's going to remove, but we will be removed. It's something like that. The reason why I'm saying that is because when they are okay, say okay, now the project is announced to be made. So the people there, they are going to come with people, right? They're going to be people from outside their state and outside their community. And when they come, they're going to come with their families. And when they come with their families, there in fact there is a whole locality, there is a complex, there's almost like a housing colony that happens when the staff who is going to make the dam, they build a housing colony just for themselves. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in a stage 5, how this this paradigm shifted is because it was a very small place. The place name is called Dikchu, and the very name of that place means the sound of the water. That means it had a very violent sound. And The story goes that the elders used to talk very loudly because of the sound. But after the dam was made, the stage 5, the water is still now. And because of that, the youngsters, the elder people are got so habituated to talk in that loud sound. Even if the water is dead now, they still talk loudly, and the youngsters get really like, why are they shouting so loud? There's no need to shout. So there's such an interesting connection that people have who used to live nearby the river, and the habit that they got. But now they had a very small school, and when they made the dam, the whole school was submerged. And they built the dam. People said, we are going to make a new school for you, and they made a very huge school, big school. But what happened was, not only the local communities children came, but also the people who work with dams. So this kind of mixture of course, no, I'm not against people coming and building things, and in the sense like getting into the community. But people, we are, lecture people are very simple people, and they are going to get manipulated very easily. And that's how, if you go to Dikshu now, which is in stage 5, you will see a very big school, a lot of people, but people are not happy who were originally there. So they don't have a say anymore. So in a way, I think they are removed. So that is my way of saying that. I'm not from that place, but that was my analysis. Correct me if I am wrong, Maya.
Correct.
This is how it is. Oh, I think some very interesting questions are coming.
Yes, there are.
So would you want
Uh,
to answer that, Maya?
if, can I add a little bit?
Right. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, in Jim, like in 2000s, in 13th of August 2016, we had a massive landslide in the in Rongyong River, which is a tributaries of River Tista. Till today, after 3 or 4 years, still the government has not able to connect the bridge, and more than 12 to 13 villages are cut off from rest of the world. You know, the strategy is that they have to carry everything on the back, and like the connectivity that the department has still now they have connected is like they have made a bamboo bridge or kind of bridge which worked like a lunar and solar eclipse. And in every monsoon the bridge is just washed away. This time also is the same thing, and it's happening every year. And government is not able to, they are not thinking to make the permanent bridge. It's not about the money, or they don't have the fund, they don't have. I feel that like they feel that it is like, you know uh, it's like vote bank. The very less people are there, so it doesn't impact on their vote bank or in the political, in thing. The saddest part is that the people, it is all indigenous, where like we as an organization have been always been raising the issues of this. The saddest part is the people, even the dead body has been, carried in the back, and they have taken back to the homeland. And this is a, what I feel, that we are really been, suppressed in the largest democracy like India. They talk good things in the international platform, but in reality, in the grassroots level, what the indigenous people are facing, the problem they are, the human rights. If you talk, we don't have human rights in Sikkim, not in Zongwe at all. Because I have been receiving letters from the people from that area, that they don't have adequate medicines. Even ANC mothers has to, they have a problem coming to Gantok. They don't have connectivity. With all this, I feel so happy. I feel so happy to thank, Minkit, giving me an opportunity to talk to Jim, about, because we are fed up of telling our government so many times, like they're telling the problem that we are facing, and they are psycho fans. They tell us what to do, what not to do. They should listen to us, what development we want. They come with their ideas, they come with their policies, and we see that we don't want that, because it's not benefiting. and the project that comes is not going to benefit the single soul of lecture communities, in Sikkim. I can give you an example. I have data with me that there are some people after giving land in stage 3, after giving land in stage 5, which is already commissioned, that our people have become landless, jobless. They have wasted their money, because they are not educated at all. They don't, when they get the compensation also, they don't have that capacity of investing in good investment. So that is
Yeah, there
how
is a
they are losing the land, they are
there
losing
is
the
no
money,
knowledge
they're
of
losing the
investing the money.
identity.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have banking, this knowledge that they have to save, they have to go to in that is what, like, the problem that we are facing right now in Zongo.
Yeah, and I think grandmother Florence talked very about her spiritual belief, which was connected to our land and water. And it's so interesting because she writes, if the people are moved, the spirit loses power. Exactly like ours, Maya. So because
Mm.
like room around, no room goyo bhन्छ नि. So like if people are moved, the spirit loses power in their area. So I think even ours is the same, because we have uh, our clans are basically the peaks of Mount Kanchenjunga, which is the third highest mountain in the world. And we have a cave, the sacred cave. We have a sacred lake and a sacred peak. We call it Chudalem. And whenever we die, we are actually taken to those sacred places. And we go through the river Tista. Like the Rongyong is one of the path. And so what they are doing is they're drilling the mountains. So once the mountain gets drilled, there is the water is the lakes are gone, and if the lakes are gone, so are the caves. And this is where our soul becomes. We don't get our home to go back to when we die. And there are, while I was filming also, there were stories, especially in stage 3, which is the right at the beginning of Rivetista, where there is a story of how when they were basically bursting the mountains, white lights came out of those caves and something flew, but they don't know what is that. And people say, some of them say it's the spirit of those mountains who disappeared. So we have these beliefs, but nobody takes it seriously. They think like, oh, it's just a story anyway. So of course, yes, that's the answer to grandmother Florence question. And also, like, in terms of we don't know what kind of help we want, but we want to be heard, right, Mayal? I think right now we are also trying to
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
go about it, but we just want people to know that there is a community called Lepchas, and there is a place called Zongu, which is a holy land for them. And also, like, there is something happening to River Tista where so many communities are dependent, not just Lepchas, and this is something where all these rivers and lakes and all everyone who are fighting, I think, should come together because the problem is same. I feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, these are great questions and wonderful answers. Um, well, this kind of relates to that. So let me ask this one too. From Frank, someone in his group asks if that is the woman's regalia. So they're talking about your clothing. Here, Native Americans call that regalia, not outfit or costume or anything like that.
Yes, yes. I don't like when we are said, oh, you're wearing your costume.
Right. No, no one here likes that either. So they want to know if that's your traditional regalia.
Dambun, Mayal,
What happened?
they are asking if this is our traditional dress.
Yeah, but yeah, this is my it's a traditional dress, but little bit modernized. But our original the dress that women wear is called dumbun, which is like white, and we wear with a colorful blouse. And we have very interesting for the costume for little community is that we have this dimbra thokra. It is handmade by the women, the old women, the wives, the sisters. They sit down and they weave. It is made of originally it is made of nettle, nettle plants. We make out of that, and we now after a little bit, modernized. We made of this silkworm, the thread of silkworm, and the men want that thokra. It is like different pattern is made of that, like white and red and different pattern, and they wear the thokra with full pride, because in Sikkim, if you see, the only indigenous lepchas, they weave and they wear dress, whereas other community, they don't have the weaving, only the thokra that in the lepcha community, the women weaves and the men wear with full pride and with full dignity and full respect.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. This is basically 1 yard of cloth. Not 1 yard, basically, it's like almost like 9 meters or 8 meters long. And olden times, this used to be because we were hunters and gatherers. So we never used to like settle, like, in the house type. So we used to go to the forest and forage. So we used to carry forest fruits and berries and all. So when we used to go to the jungle, this particular cloth would become just one piece of cloth, and we used to cover ourselves like a blanket. And then so if she opens her dress, it's like 1 yard of cloth. So it becomes a dress with the way she wraps herself around her body. And also there is always a V shape just below the neck. Like you can see, Mayalmith is wearing a V shape. It is a V collar. This is also to commemorate mountains because of our mountain Kanchenjunga. And the guys, also the boys, they have this pattern of red, black, and white. Red and black represents the story of creation, where these two insects came to Mother Earth before human beings came, just to know whether human can exist or not. And that one was cockroach and beetle. So the red and black represents that particular insects. And there's always this conical shape in our dresses, which represents Kanchenjunga, which is the mountain that we come from. So there's a lot of story in that.
Thank you. And that's in because they just asked what the colors meant, so you already answered it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I'm sorry I'm looking and writing, but I'm getting the questions by getting them off my computer. So I'm going there to get them and typing them here so we
Jim,
can
you're
actually.
forgiven, considering all the fiasco we have been going through. So
I know. It's
yeah,
everything we've
perfectly
done
fine.
this week. Coyote is there.
Yeah,
Coyote is
yeah,
trickster in our way.
yeah.
Here's an interesting comment. This is from a young man. He's 19. Alvin. Alvin, thank you for your thought processes. And I've paraphrased it a little bit so that we understand what he's asking. You cannot affect the water without affecting the land and the air also. How can they say that? I think that
Mhm.
goes back to something you said earlier, Melvin. Um, so I'm just thinking because I'm hearing some of your other thoughts, and then I'll turn it to you. Partly because I think some of the people don't have the education to know that, as you were saying with the financial as well. So I would
Yeah.
assume that young, educated people who are committed, like both of you and others, must really scare the power structure.
Yeah. I don't
Mm.
know. Mayal, I'm really inspired by Mayal because she's very courageous. She's very courageous. Even when she was very small, during her college times, I think she was almost taken to the jail. Mayal, if you could just, narrate your
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Mm. One When we were in the hunger strike, we used to do some demonstration also. Very peaceful demonstration. One of the demonstration was done in Donggu, and that day, like I was not there, to be very honest, but there were more than 100 and 150, the youth. They had a long procession just to tell the government that stop the dams, stop all this from the indigenous land. That day what happened, they came back after that, and almost 43 people were arrested from our group, be it school student, be it a monk, be the housewife, and our main, the main, the executive in our organization. They were taken, without any witness, without eyewitness that these people have done that, problem. They were just taken to in the Thana. They were kept for 4 days, 3 days in the district Thana. Then they were taken to the state jail, and they were jailed for almost 1 month, 7 days. And they were a college going student. They were students, and they were like, they were kept for 1 month and 1 week. Then what happened? There was more six young school students. They were grabbed. The policemen grabbed them from the house at midnight around 11:30. And they were taken to juvenile. Without any eyewitness, without any, they were trying, when we were doing the movement. They were trying to suppress our movements. They were trying to suppress our voice. That is how they were. With that, and we were doing this movement for the very first time, and we didn't knew about the strategy, about what we have to do next. It was just, we are just doing that, what we have to do it, because there were nobody to help us. So while doing that, and they were put so many sections, that lot of sections, because I'm not that, like, I don't have any law background. They were put so many sections. After putting them in the jail, they had to, attend the Thana and the session court for almost 3 years. That way they try to really suppressed. For 3 years they were continuing, attending the session in the court. That is how they suppress our voice. And even for the juvenile also, they were taking and they were put it in the, and some of them were, mm, they were supposed to appear for board exams, and even in college. Like people, like for me, I had to discontinue my graduation, because with this, doing all the activities, doing the protest, staying in hunger strike, going to Delhi and meeting the people there and telling our Surab, this is the problem. Then going to other ministries. With that, I couldn't continue my studies. So, but with all this, this is how, like, government puts us pressure, that you know uh, uh, by terrorizing us. Even in what happened in Zongu is, we get subsidies from government. So if your people, if your house is protesting against these dams, you don't get all subsidies from the government, the rations and other things. And even luckily, my parents, they are not in government job, they are not doing any, they're just a farmer. They are, like, luckily they were safe. But my other friend, their parents were working as a teacher in government school. They're working as a some in one of the government employees. They were victimized. They are being transferred from Zongu to very far flung area in Sikkim. That way there were so many victims of, when we were raising the issues of this dams in Zongu. This is how the government is really suppressing us. That is always there. And whenever this one, the election comes, the new government, the party comes, that when, if he wins this elections, we are going to scrap the project in Zongu. you know and they always talk about Zongu is a protected land, it's an identity for Sikkim and identity for so and so. But when it comes in the when it comes to act, again they wants to go with the with the project. That these are things that we are being threatened, we are being really terrorized. But still, with all this, we are not we are not scared. We are still working. We are trying to, whenever we get chance, if the people from the mainland area, they invited us, we are trying our best to attend the meeting, attend the seminars, and reach out our issues. And we are reaching out our voices, that these things are happening in Sikkim and in India.
Wow. Yeah. So many things just connect with things that are happening other places in the world. And I really respect your willingness to stand up. having done this, having protested and been part of things a lot of years ago, long before you were around, I know what it takes, and I know how it can be very difficult to do. So I just want you to know how much I respect you. And I'm just typing now from grandmother Alva, another grandmother, I guess, who's up there. You are a beautiful, peaceful warrior. You are to be thanked by the earth and by all her people. So that's a little, I can stop typing it because I read
Okay,
it.
thank you.
You know, on the land too, just to shift back to that, and thinking that you can work and do things to the water and not affect anything else. I did a lot of things in Belize some years back. I spent a lot of time there, and I was working on my spiritual road, but I was also working in my field, which was natural resources. And they kept making that same argument there. Some people, and there were several things going on in Belize, but one thing was they would do they would cut all the timber down in the top land so they could plant crops, and then you get the rains and the floods would start and the mud would start. Well, that would affect the mangroves along the coast, which were the lungs of the land, and then it would dump into the ocean, and then it would affect the waters as well. And I always, that just gave me such
Mm.
an education to realize you can't touch any one of those three unless you look at them together, because they're really one system. From what you're saying, I'm hearing the same sort of thing. Um, the other piece, I'll bring this one up. In Belize, another issue was almost 2/3 of the country, including the waters, were preserved. They were under protection. They were natural areas. It was amazing, and I worked with a lot of the people in that part of the country who worked in natural resources. The problem was, and they're committed. Their government was committed to preserving the land and the water. The problem was they had all this land and all this water, and very few people to do anything about it. So things happened all the time, and there were no people to go and look at it and address it. And some things would go wrong for 2 years before they had a ranger or a government official who could look at it. Is any of that a problem there in your protected areas? Not enough people to monitor what's going on?
Hello,
Mayal,
Minket.
you are, yeah, yeah. So basically,
Oh, मैले बुझेनौ.
the question you're asking is not in the protected areas, not enough people, right, to protect. Do we have that issue? So what happens is Zongo is just a little below on the higher altitude, the Kanchenjunga National Park that we're talking about. They also have Bhutias community. Okay, it's in North Sikkim, which is the Lachung and Lachin. Now what, they are also very less in number. In fact, the government doesn't even intrude in their work, because they have their own community driven government, like the Zumsa system, and they are very, very closely related, and whatever happens they solve it within themselves. But in the conservation area, what is happening is this is also a border area, border between China and India.
China.
So now, yeah. So and the Indian Army is there. So Indian Army becomes a strong part of that area with the community. So that is another story altogether, because there's an army conflict with the community, So there are a lot of roads which is being built around the border area, and how the army is taking over the lands of the farmers in that very less populated area. So that is another part of the story. I mean, that is not even talked about it. But yes, there are less people to look after. But then, since there is army, not much do we get to hear. And army also kind of looks and guards these places, so uh, they don't have much problem with that so far, except for the internal conflict between the land of army encroaching the land of the farmers. And Mayal, I don't know if you want to add more to it, because I think there are not many Lachinpas and Lachunpas are the ones who are looking after the National Kanchenjunga National Park up in the altitude, right?
Half, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what I want to add here is what happened in this higher from Dongu, higher towards the border area. There's called Lachin and Lachung. Lachin lies little higher than Lachung, but these community have, say, as Minky said, they have a local, local
Community law.
like laws called community laws, which is still that is also protected under the Constitution of India called Zumsa. So because Zumsas are like the government, the state government and central government cannot, interfere in their local, laws. But there, the people are very strong, very united. And still in this place, we have stage one and stage two hydro project, which is proposed in this area, like Lachin and Lachung. It is towards the border area. So what happened was these local bodies are very, very strong and very united. Then they have a meeting, they had a Zumsa, and they have protested, and they have, everybody has given that they don't allow the dams to come up in their region. Number one. Number two, I feel that in Sikkim we have 500 glaciers lake, one of the highest lake in compared to whole India, and Lonak Lake, which lies in just above Lachin, it's about to burst because the glaciers are melting in the very high rate, high speed rate. And with this, with looking all these factors, these Dumsas had strongly opposed the dams in this both the places in Lachin and Lachung, and which and we still have some good friend who is who is helping
Supporting
us
the
whenever we go, whenever we have a meeting. You know, we have a very strong youth there that they are supporting us. But problem with Zongo is like little bit our people are a little bit exploited. Some like politically interference are there. There are few people who want it and few who doesn't want. And in Zongo is like we have to. There's a river Tista flowing in the middle. Right side is a Zongo and left side is the other community. Mixed communities there. And we to come up with such project, we have to have some procedure. Some so, one of the procedure is we have to have a forest right act. The forest right act says that we have to get a consent from the local people for the clearance by the clearance from the public to start the project to this operates. But what happened in 2018, the whole Zongo people they have rejected this FRA forest right act. They didn't want to give any clearance to this project developers. But unfortunately, what happened was people from the left bank, everybody gave the clearance that they welcome the stage this project. These things are happening, and with this, there's always uh, there are two groups that wants to give. There's other group they don't want to give. But problem with this, like we the water, like drinking water, we depend on glacially. And coming of mega dams, we we have witnessed, we have done research that a lot of spring water, fresh spring waters are drying up. Even my family, we used to do paddy field. We used to do paddy field. We have stopped doing paddy field because there is not, we don't have enough water to to do the to do this cultivation. And slowly, I think we are in the we are going to we're going to have a scarcity of drinking water in this Zongo region and other regions, and it's happening now. But we feel that we'll have more scarcity in future if this dams comes, if they start drilling the tunnels inside the mountains. And according to the seismological survey, Bhutan, along with neighboring Bhutan and Nepal, this belt lies in the seismological area, stage in the four zone, and it's a seismic. Recently, I think 2 days back, we felt a earthquake. Now and then. In 2011 was the highest hit earthquake in Sikkim. Almost a lot of people died, and there were a lot of casualties. And casualties took place more in the dam site area, wherever stage 3, stage 5, and stage down. These are the other factors that it's really it's really I feel really threatened. I feel really scared that the more, there'll be activities of tunneling and, drilling of mountains. I think in future, if we face some, this earthquake, it'll be a more, we'll have a more tragedy in future.
Yeah, I hear you. Here in our west, we have the Colorado River, which is an amazing, powerful river. And when I was young, you could start the Colorado River way up where it began in the Rocky Mountains, and you could take a boat of various sorts down the river, and you would shoot the rapids, and you'd go through 4 states, and you would end up at the ocean. Now you can take it down. It's still amazing in parts of Colorado. But then as you come out of the mountains and you start to go into the desert and the plain, soon after that, it disappears into the ground. There's no more river. So what was a raging river that would take you to the ocean now takes you halfway, and then the water's underground. And that's sad, I think. It's sad because there's not enough drinking water, like you just said, because they're stealing it for all these huge cities. But it's also sad because that was a very spiritual river as well. And it still is. But the lower part, those people don't have access to it anymore. So I think these things, again, are very global. And Minket put up a link for saving the river. I'll make
Yes,
sure I put that up when we put up the copy of this. And for those
right.
listening, it'll be, I know you don't have much access. I will get it to you. I will write it up and send it to you all.
Yeah.
Boy,
Hashtag safety star. That's what they are doing, and mostly,
okay.
um, it was 15 years ago. This almost 15, no, more than 15 years.
Yeah,
1990s
yeah.
they started this dam movement, and after this 912 days of hunger strike, right? If I'm not correct, if I'm not
15,
mistaken, Maya, 15 days of hunger strike. So that
915
was,
days.
yeah, so that was in 2007 and 8. That is when I was just working in a, like, small, after my graduation. That was our youth. So now this Save Tista is another banner, but under the same ACT, Affected Citizens of Tista banner, where a lot of young youth have started speaking. And that's where we also want to help, because I feel like the journey is not over, and most of these youth are just college students, graduates, and they are writing poems, they are drawing, they are making videos and just sharing whatever they want to do, talk about Tista, and they need guidance. And I guess that's where we are looking for, because I think in Western world, people have suffered way before us, actually, and we are trying to be like the West, unfortunately, because the West have gone through a lot of this problems of dams, and even this pipelines you're talking about.
Mhm.
And in future, these are some projects which will come to our side also, and that's sad, but I really wanted to put a very important point, Jim, two things, because it is very important for us also to realize that the problem is not even dams, the problem is not even about the pipelines. The problem is the kind of education we are getting or we are giving to our youth. Number one, what are we being taught? We are not being taught about our indigenous stories. We are not being taught about our indigenous languages. We are not being taught about which are the mountains sacred for us. We are taught about everything around the world but our own places. And that is where we come from, where the youth feels it, but we are not educated enough to really know what is this place for. We have emotions led, but there's no logic. I mean, to be frank enough, because of course there are rights, there are a lot of laws that's been given, but by the time it trickles down to our communities, how many of us are actually equipped enough to really understand that thing? That's one. The second part of it is also to really start understanding, see how education system is working. Because once you get detached from your community and your land, it just becomes an issue. Like Mayalmith and I think Getsu Anam and Getsu Lepcha and all, they were called anti-government at one point of time, which is not. They're fighting for their own
Anti-national it is.
anti-national. Sorry, anti-national. So that kind of this kind of terms are also coming, because One, we are educating children about, oh, we were never taught about River Tista except for some small chapter in a book. We were taught about probably the Red Sea and the Caspian Sea, and so many things happen across the world, but not educated. So I think in terms of indigenous people also, we really have to see how our education system talks about us. That's how we can empower and save our land, our rights, because uh, because we communicate in different ways. Not all of us are good in writing, not all of us are good in speaking, and we speak in our own ways. Some of them, I'm sure from Pioneers, you'll have beautiful singers talking about the land rights, but that's their way of speaking. There are people, women weaving, there are women cooking, and still talking about rights. And I guess these are different expressions which we need to gather as we move on when we talk about communities and indigenous people, because one aspect is to educate ourselves and be able to speak in the language where the world speaks, but also have a parallel education system where we get to know about our own communities, because that's definitely lacking. And number two that I wanted to talk about is, I think Malmik talked about spring waters drying up. I went to West Sikkim, and that was a very interesting case study that I went through. When there was spring waters drying up, the land was getting very barren, and when the land was getting barren, the farmers did not have enough produce to sustain. And that's how they came to towns and cities. And that's where the urban poverty started. That's where prostitution started. And that's where our marginalization started. So when these people migrate from village to urban places, this particular the urban space and the urban poverty is basically because we are actually not taking care of the rural resources properly. And I think these are very important part. Even any communities we come from, be it Pine Ridge or be it in Zongu or even in Northeast, we have a large chunk of our youth coming out from our villages and not going back also. That's one of the reasons when all these corporate companies come to these resource areas, we don't have enough people speaking for them, speaking for the land. So that's the third thing which we also need to take. How can we get our youth back to our places? And that is a bigger issue, I feel, because dam is one, pipeline is second, but the larger scale is how are we breaking as a community? I think that's a larger question for us. So yeah, I wanted to stress on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really critical. Um, Having been around just a little bit longer than you, I think that's actually, though, one of the positive things I'm seeing. There were times um, years back when the young people didn't want to hear from the elders, and the elders didn't want to waste their time with the young people. They just wondered why. How come these young people don't just come and sit and listen to us? I'm not seeing that so much now. Now I'm seeing this. The elders want to share, but they also want to hear from the young people. The young people want to hear what we've done because we've made plenty of mistakes. Let's not make them again. Let's move ahead. So I think time is ripe for that, and I think doing things like this is amazing. And as I do this, and I run into people, and Minket, we saw Veronica from South America was on with us the other day in a circle, and it's the same basic conversation. And another woman from Colombia, and some young people from Australia. So I think you're right. I think that's the bigger issue. We need to come. Frank had said earlier on the line that we must all work together around the earth to save our ways. And I think learning from each other first is really important. We are never going to get the help from any government that is on the planet right now. That's not what they're about. They're not here to help preserve us. I love your talk about how when people go from the land into the big cities, many of these issues really started when people started getting shoved into big cities, which of
Right.
course, that's where governments like people. They shove them together, it's easier to control, and they can go do what they want with the land. So it is supporting things like you all are doing, I think is critical because you are protecting that land. And it's, we need to find ways to get out there collectively because a lot of elders won't even do this. As I reach out, maybe one elder in 8 or 10 is willing to come on and share electronically because they're just not used to it.
Yes, I know.
You
That's a
know,
big
they're used,
challenge.
it's a big challenge. They're
Yeah.
used, and I have them tell me all the time, "Oh, Jim, I would love to share. Come and sit at my fire."
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't always do that. We need to find ways to do that, and I know we can. And I think
Yeah.
that's the trip forward.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone way over on this, but you two are incredible. I just want to end with this one.
Sorry.
No, no, don't be sorry. It's perfect. We could go all day. This is so good, and we're going to have more tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
look,
Jim, can I add some few points?
please do.
Yeah, Jim, can I add 2 points
Yeah, go ahead.
before we end up?
Yes.
In
Go
Sikkim
ahead,
is
Mike.
like not only in Zongo, because since I work for entire community in Sikkim, the indigenous lecture community is we in Sikkim as indigenous people have contributed a lot to a government in terms of revenue, in terms of so-called development, like the beautiful land, the indigenous lands has been acquired by the government. Even though there is a law say, in Revenue Order Number 1, the article under which is protected under Article 371 of Indian Constitution, stating that Bhutia Lepcha land cannot be purchased by Nepali of Sikkimese origin. We have 3 communities in Sikkim: Lepcha, Bhutia, and Nepali. Even Bhutia Lepcha land cannot be purchased, or we cannot sell our land to the Nepalis of Sikkimese origin. That is under the Revenue Order Number 1. With having all that laws in Sikkim, which is big, because Sikkim was a princely state. We had our own kingdom, but in 1975 we became part of India. That is a different history. Having all this, our land was protected in the under the article this Revenue Order Number 1. But what is happening in Sikkim is like, if you see the most of the government school, if you see most of the hospitals, if you see most of the small project area, all been have been acquired by Lepcha community. The Lepcha indigenous community has been acquired. But what is happening is like the state government is acquiring, has been taking the land from Lepcha community in very low rate. That in the like, let's see, they buy it in the like, let's see, 100 rupees, and they are selling out to some other companies at 1,000 rupees. That is what is happening here. And these points, these words had not been raised up. And there is no, we have political representative in Sikkim in the assembly, but the unfortunate is like the whoever is elected, they cannot raise the issues in assembly. That is a problem that we have here. But like, I feel at the end, whenever I speak regarding the indigenous communities problem in Sikkim, I really feel happy. And even like uh, the one of the what help we can do, it's like just listening to our stories and listening to our problem, just telling you all, and so, like for us, I really feel happy. That is what the every day, that the spirit is there, that you must go on, you must fight. And when people like you all, like, we don't need, we just need some advice, some suggestion, because what how to deal with this, that is what we need. I mean it.
Yes, yes. Thank you
Mm.
so much, Mayal. And since
Yes.
Frank was asking us about what help, if on a chart paper if you can
Yeah.
write stop save Tista and stop stage 4 and send us a picture via Jim, we would be really happy. We can upload it in Save
Yeah.
Tista from Pine Ridge because that would mean a lot for our community.
Okay. I will put that
Mm.
up. One thing we can do is we have a lot of Facebook groups we have a really large group from
Yeah.
Standing Rock that we still run, which has people from around the world. So we need to start putting things up because this is a very similar issue. And
Yes.
we'll do that. I'll make sure I add you both to that group,
Right.
and then
Okay.
we'll see how to do it. And that's a good place where we can ask people to
Oh, yes, that would be
do it.
nice.
Yeah, and get it off to you. They can get it off to you electronically. That's easy.
Yes.
I think making these issues visible wherever they are, like Frank said, we have to stand together in this. There's no question.
Yeah.
This is the time of one tribe. We're all different,
Yes.
but we're one tribe.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
That's really true.
Mm.
So I hate to end this because it's so amazing. Any final words that both of you would like to, or have we covered it?
Yeah,
Mohammed?
I want to say a final word. I always whenever I go to mainland area in national, I always say with proud, saying that we indigenous Lepcha people, we worship nature and environment like mountains, river, everything. When the world leaders talk about protecting, we here in Zongu and in Sikkim, the Lepcha community, we worship nature. That is like last word that I could like to end in any any workshop, any seminars. And I will urge the world, at least do something for your coming generation. We should not be, very selfish. We should not be greedy. I think each and every the human beings should respect nature and environment, because if we don't respect the environment and nature, I think we don't feel proud to be call ourselves human beings. Thank you so much, Jim. If we have any doubts or anything question, we'll be always be now since we know each other, we'll be always
Hmm.
be approaching you.
Seeking your
And thank you
guidance.
so much for giving such a precious time, because time is so precious for us, because it's the time is
Hmm.
running. And on behalf of the Sikkim Indigenous Lepcha community, I would like to thank Jim and whoever, the people who are listening to my
Hmm.
interview,
Talk.
or whatever I say. I would like to appeal the world, appeal everybody to protect us, because we are really need your help, because literally we need your help, because we are going to vanish, we are going to be marginalized in our own homeland.
Hmm.
With this word, I would like to thank each and everybody, and please support our movement, please save our soul, save our land, and save our rivers. This is only the identity that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. I just wanted to also say, like, I think our ancestors have met somewhere and they're making us meet now, and we are the medium. And we, as I seek guidance from our ancestors, I would also think of your ancestors and hope that they meet and give us guidance along the way, because we have come together for a reason. So thank you once again.
Hmm. Thanks, Minket. And that's a great place to end because I think our ancestors, all of our ancestors now, are sitting around the same fire.
Yeah,
And I
that's the
think
one tribe.
that's the one tribe, and they will guide us all.
Right.
I need to do I think I need to do a program. Maybe I'll do something tomorrow on that because we haven't done enough with that yet, but we will. Um, yeah, so thank you both as well.
Please let us know the timing, okay, Jim, because the
Oh
time is
no.
like
We're-
the time is like I think the next is I think next is we are going to come at 5:30. That's what I know. The next one, which is the last one, where the screening and my storytelling will happen. I guess that's the
um,
5:30 one. So if you do anything, just I will see in the Trello board, uh, because I would love to be a part of it, but because of the timing,
okay.
I'm just facing a problem.
Yeah.
Just do consider us in your thought, and the fact that we're on the other side of the world.
Yep. Okay. No,
Right.
and that's fine. The challenges are making it more valuable when we do it. I think
Maybe we
it's
can do it sometime later too. Anyway.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you both. And also, we thank everybody who's going to hear this because
Okay,
this will
thank
get
you.
Yes.
this will go everywhere. So we thank those who hear. You were part of this too. So we're also asking for your support and help.
Right.
Bye all.
Bye then. Bye. Bye, Jim. Good morning to you.
Bye. Bye, Minket.
Good evening.
Bye. Bye. Good night to us. Bye.
Good night.